This is the news that Chicago Bears fans have been looking for, as their left tackle of the future seems to be found in Ozzy Trapilo, according to Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle. Along with that, too, some harsh statements about this past weekend for the defense from Dennis Allen himself, and he actually takes accountability. I'm going to go through it all, but before I get more into today's show, hit that like button if you're happy with Ozzy Trapilo and his play so far for the Chicago Bears. And along with that, too, is he the left tackle of the future in your opinion? Comment Y for yes or N for no. And if you like this video, comment and subscribe. You enter to win an autographed Colston Loveland mini helmet, which will be announced on Monday. Let's get into the news. Ozzy Trapilo is the guy. I have always thought he was the guy. The big 6'7", 320-plus pound offensive lineman from Boston College was the third pick by the Bears in the 2025 NFL Draft. First, it was Loveland, then it was Burden, Trapilo right after. And finally, the Bears get some clarity of Ryan Poles being able to go out and build this offensive line, not only what they did with Joe Thuney, Drew Dalman, and Jonah Jackson, but through the draft. We've seen Luke Newman, a really good offensive lineman out of Michigan State, do well for the Bears, but Ozzy Trapilo is what has mattered here. And Ben Johnson loves this guy. That's what is so big here, is that this was his first offensive lineman that he took during his time as the Chicago Bears head coach, working probably with Dan Rochar, our offensive line coach. But again, that guy needs a blank flipping check for coming out of retirement and making this Bears offensive line play as well as they are right now. But Ben Johnson with some big statements about the rookie. So he said, listen, I think it's every week that he does a great job of just hitting that reset button and coming in and focused on his technique and his fundamentals. Followed by that, Ben Johnson right now. Holy cow. Saying that your rookie is on another level couldn't be more true. If you look at what Ozzy Trapilo has done as the Bears left tackle in his overall play so far in the NFL, this kid was meant to play football and veteran ready out of the gate. What a pick in the second round by the Bears. And he's keeping up with the rest of them. The Bears offensive line as a unit right now has 5 sacks total. That left side, 0 between him and Joe Thuney at the moment. I know which Trapilo has only played in 294 snaps, but only 1 quarterback hit allowed during that time, 6 hurries, and 0 penalties. You look at the rest of the Bears offensive line, they're still playing really good. We could have 4 guys potentially go to the Pro Bowl this year. I mean, look at those stats. But Ozzy Trapilo is keeping up with the rest of them, and this offensive line is really helping him along with Dan Rochar. But he has gone against some top guys in this league. The Bears have gone against some tough defenses. Their offense, all things considered, have done a great job. But Trapilo coming in, replacing Theo Bennett, who was dealing with an injury, also struggling himself, and Braxton Jones, who we just haven't really heard from since he was placed on IR, which it was very random, too, how it happened. Wishing him the best of luck, as it doesn't seem like his future in Chicago is going to be after this season. But overall, at the end of the day, Trapilo has done a fantastic job. So let's go through exactly who he has faced so far this year, because it's going to shock you how well he's done and so under the radar. Starting off with his first action against any NFL in regular season action was Maxx Crosby when the Bears played the Las Vegas Raiders way earlier in the season, where Trapilo played him 40 snaps, allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, 2 hurries, and 0 penalties. This is one of the best edges in the NFL, by the way, guys, and that was his first experience. So that's impressive right there. And that gains you some confidence. It also gives you some tape. And if you're able to do that, just imagine the details you're able to fix quickly because you've already established yourself there. Now, he did play against TJ Watt for a few snaps with the Steelers, but he mainly went against Nick Herbig. But look at this stat line. 65 snaps against each other, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 1 hurry, 0 penalties. That is what I'm talking about right there. Again, that guy, it's so underrated, by the way. He has 6.5 sacks this year for the Steelers. He's been a dog. And Trapilo was like, not today. You're going to stay in the cage today because guess what? I'm going to shut you down. And that's exactly what he did. That was a big reason why that Bears team did so well against Pittsburgh at home a few weeks back. Shout out to my good friend Dylan. Sorry about that one. He's a Bears and a Steelers fan first, but Ozzy Trapilo did a great job against Pittsburgh there. Then you go through what he did this past week against Micah Parsons. 70 snaps total for Parsons on the field, mostly against Trapilo. 0 sacks, 0 hits. All the hurries were credited to Joe Thuney, which I thought was a little crazy, but on the stat line, 0 hurries and 0 penalties. That is beyond impressive. considering the fact of what Trapillo did. Now, I'm going through some of the game film, and I'm like, yeah, probably. I'll give him probably 2 or 3 hurries on him, but still, 2 or 3 hurries against Micah Parsons, the hardest guy you've gone against this entire year, did a great job. I mean, this rookie has been incredible. And then you go through what Ben Johnson had to say about him more. We certainly have a plan to be aware of how we can help not just Ozzy, but it's also Darnell Wright and the offensive line as well, because the scheme that they run, talking about the Browns, is a little bit different. It's that wide 9 where these guys are in sprinter mode and they're looking to go right after launch point at the quarterback every single snap. It's going to be his biggest challenge yet, and we're about to break it down because Declan Doyle also did a good job breaking it down. But before we get more into today's show, help us hit our next goal of 41,900 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button, liking, and commenting. Also, you get to enter to win that Colson Level mini helmet, but let's get a little bit more into it. How they're preparing for Myles Garrett. Well, this came out from offensive coordinator Declan Doyle, which this is a very, very big challenge. Myles Garrett is on pace to break the single-season sack record, and he's showing no signs of slowing down. And Caleb said, listen, I don't want him to do it against us, but this is a big one. And Myles Garrett so far this year for the Cleveland Browns, 53 total tackles, 39 solo, 32 quarterback hits. Along with that, too, 20 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. And Declan Doyle had a little bit to say about this. He's a unique player. We have taken our notes and done various type of scouting styles to prepare our offense for this. And what I'll say, not a coach, but I've seen Colston Loveland do a pretty darn good job helping out with Ozzy Trapilo and Darnell Wright on various different packages. Throw him on Myles Garrett. He's fast, he's big, he's strong. Those two together, trying to stop the big 6'4", 275-plus pound edge. Yeah, it's going to have to happen. Got to throw Loveland out there in order to help out Trapillo. That being said, I'm still very confident in Trapillo considering what he has done, but just wanted to put that out there. And, you know, Declan Doyle also talked about how much he really likes Ozzy Trapillo. In fact, I think the Bears love this guy. I mean, from day one, he's been mature. He's been very active. You know, Dan Rochar with big statements about him, Declan Doyle and Ben Johnson. It just continues to stay positive about Ozzy. And that's why I'm so excited about him, considering he is on a rookie contract for the next 4 years. But Declan Doyle, going against guys like Crosby, Watt, Parsons, I think there is more than anything. He has performed well enough to be confident going into the game and also what to expect from a player like those. Finally, I'll just say it one more time. He's been impressive. Want to hear your guys' thoughts about it. But they're also preparing for Myles Garrett still here. So no backing off the gas pedal by any means. Now, the last topic I want to hit on today is shout out to Dennis Allen for taking accountability. Harsh accountability too. But he admits to his mistakes that he had against the Green Bay Packers that might have helped the Bears potentially win the game if they went the other way. But good to see that Dennis Allen is taking the blame, and he did it right before the half, especially with what happened. So kind of talked about what happened overall. He was very disappointed in himself, which that's what we're not used to here in Chicago. Matt Eberflus would have been like, yeah, no, like whatever. No, Dennis Allen did a fantastic job, and here's what he had to say. So going through it, he said, yeah, look, you know, I really put that on me. I've got to coach that up better in terms of how I have to defend that. They had a good play. We didn't defend it as well as we needed to. And really, I've got to do a better job there. Accountability. I love it. Just wanted to put that out there. I absolutely love this. We are not used to this, and that's what's different about this staff. So 100% couldn't agree more that he definitely could have drew something up better, but I think Dennis Allen has done a much better job with this Bears defense. Again, considering he's barely had Kyler Gordon, he's barely had Jalen Johnson, he's missing Tremaine Edmonds. One of his edges that he thought was going to be good in Doyle is unfortunately out too, and he didn't have Austin Booker till Cincinnati. So all things considered, just imagine when you give this guy an offseason building his defense. Quickly, he did go into Jalen Johnson. He's almost 100%. We've seen some rust on him, but you know, he said, I think he's getting closer and closer each week. So that's good news right there. You can tell there's rust on Jalen, obviously not playing in camp, really missing most of this season. There is going to be that. All things considered, though, I think that he's done an incredible job coming out and being the player that he is. Maybe that rust is finally gone against Green Bay, and I hope to see that there's none against the Cleveland Browns. But guys, with that, thank you as always for tuning in to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago Bears. If you haven't already, please could like, comment, and subscribe. But my name is Nick Brody, and I want to hear it loud and proud as always in the comment section below. Bear down, baby.